And we are broadcasting. So welcome to Managing Teams and Projects Remotely. There's nobody here yet. So welcome to Managing Teams and Projects Remotely with Marcus Dickinson. If you find speaking events boring, you've clearly never met Marcus. A dynamic, energy, and genuine person for people and a relentless drive to see others succeed. Marcus delivers knowledge in a unique and engaging way. If you're ready for an unparalleled fun and learning that will stay with you, you've come to the right place at the right time. So welcome, Marcus.
Hey, Craig.
Yeah, I'm going to switch over to you in just a second, but I just wanted to mention that this is the first of a few webinars we're doing. Today it's Managing Teams and Projects Remotely. Tomorrow it is generating conversions with Facebook advertising with Andrea from Get Social.
Oh, perfect.
And on Friday, managing cash flow and burn during COVID-19 with the guys from Galleon CPA. And on Monday, it's Safe Harbors, pitching to investors in a time of crisis with Kevin Smith, the story architect.
Oh, that's great. I just actually ran into him, I guess, a week ago now in the grocery store. The last time I left the house, and there was Kevin.
That's funny. Yeah. And we're following up that with on Tuesday with Harness Your Creativity, idea creation with Will Greenblatt, actor, musician. He just released a song. He's got some interesting ways to go about harnessing your creativity. You've met Will.
I have, yeah.
He's a very engaging guy. And then on Wednesday, we're bringing Alex Morsink in from Equivesto, and he's talking about what's your startup worth? How do VCs value your startup? What formulas do they use? So you can take a look at these when you're going into negotiations and stuff.
Fantastic. I mean, good quality stuff as always.
Yeah, we're just continuing, right? We have to keep our, in these times, keep our community engaged as much as possible. So on Thursday, we're doing continuing my business in light of COVID-19 with Alex Koch from Insight Legal. So what are your legal options in light of COVID? And ask the questions away because there's so many things going on. So without, I don't know if you run into any issues around legalities and employee contracts and, we're seeing, I've heard stories now about Amazon and some of the people who are warehousing stuff with Amazon who are now, Amazon's no longer accepting any more orders from them. Mm-hmm. And they are now saying, but they're still having to pay warehousing fees and whatnot. So it's interesting to, interesting times we're in and wondering, is that legal? You're not accepting my inventory. I can't move it out of your warehouse anymore, but you're still charging me rent and still charging me overhead for that. How do people feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, one of my actual good friends is going through that right now. They're an international chain, Scholar's Choice, if you've ever heard of that franchise. And they basically have shut down all 19 Canadian locations to focus on the online. And then bam, Amazon's not taking their orders right now. So it's created a lot of interesting things for them. In that regard, I think really what a lot of people have lost sight of, and I don't know if it's just background and experience, but as a risk management professional, someone who's always examined risk and created disaster recovery plans, someone who's been doing remote project management for, wow, like over a decade now. And even in my previous career, we used to work from home. I mean, this isn't some new phenomenon where the world's suddenly having to figure it out. Like, it's been there for a while. And I think what happens is, and I've been talking about it on our daily webinars as well, is this polarizing response to fear. On the one end, you've got, toilet paper hoarders and people ready to sue, ready to freak out, the self-entitlement coming up to all new levels of, no, I need to take care of me right now. Nothing else matters, me. Then you have the other side of the spectrum where people respond to fear by minimizing what's actually happening at all. Man, it's just a government control tactic or some conspiracy. Man, I'm healthy, I'm not going to get sick. And both of those are not really helpful. At the end of the day, what I've been challenging our clients with in any of our programs is a twofold response. One is about mindset. Mindset, we know, is important. And the biggest mindset is accept this as the new normal going forward, because there's no going back, right? There isn't any going back. I know a lot of people out there, maybe some of your listeners and everything, they're thinking to themselves, hey, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, and I'll just go back to work, and it'll be a little bit tough, but things will pick up right where it left off. Well, no, we are fundamentally watching the demise of the traditional rat race, right? The conventional method of the last 100 years of how things have been done, big corporate offices having to commute into a communal space and work for 8 hours, commute back, pick up your kids, do activities, make dinner, and then fall exhausted on the couch just to do it all again for the next 40 years. That's just died. For many reasons. A lot of it has to do with cash flow. That's one of the topics you mentioned is businesses of all sizes are really starting to suffer from cash flow because larger corporations, it takes massive amounts of profit to keep those things going. And most of them were already operating at a negative from month to month. And now here, you're seeing a dry up in consumerism, which is affecting, of course, the economy and bigger things like that. But when they have their entire workforces at home, they don't need to have these big physical spaces with large rents. They don't need to have to worry about a lot of the utility bills that were just consuming things like they were before. They can actually get more hours out of their teams because they're not commuting. You find teams can be more effective when they're in a relaxed home environment. So a lot of stuff is shifting, and it's probably going to stay that way when business continues to normalize, is the phrase I'm using. As we go from the extremes and just figure out what the new way of doing things is, I think you're going to see there's a lot more of this working from home, or what we've called them for a while as distributed teams in the modern day workplace.
Yeah, we used to call them telecommuters,
Yep.
uh, but I think you overestimate the desire for change and that the ease of which working from home is for some people. Some people, it's not easy for them to work from home and they need an office or a place to go to.
Well, absolutely. I agree with you. So let's identify both points you brought up. I don't think there's any desire for change, right? One of the whole fundamental principles that we use when we're pitching to any client, traditionally now more than ever, is everybody's like, yes, I love the idea of change. Don't change me, right? And that's how it goes. Like, all of us love the idea of change. Nobody wants to be changed, but because of this pandemic, because of this world shifting phenomenon, we're forced to change, kicking and screaming every step of the way. So I think point one, I'm not going to say it's irrelevant, but we have to change, because if we do not change, then we won't survive on many levels. Some of us physically, because there are deaths happening with this tragic circumstance, and some of us with business, because a lot of businesses, if you're non-essential, you're shut down, and that hurts. And a lot of businesses may not recover from that, small businesses as well as large. To your second point, you're right. There is a lot that goes on to being able to work from home. Some people, I believe, are naturally wired for it. Some people are not. And it's so hard to stay focused because home is where the distractions are. Home is where they relax. And a lot of that, I mean, it's the whole nature versus nurture argument. Is it hardwiring, or is it because that's how the paradigm has always been? So part of our job with How To Project over the last 8 years is been creating those types of work cultures in a home space so that people can be effective and productive, or even creating those same types of emotionally invested work cultures in a traditional workspace is part of what we've done as well. But right now we're talking about working from home. We're talking about elevating your audience and your community so that they can be effective at home. And here's the thing, the longer this goes on, the longer the self-isolation occurs, then the more people's work patterns, their behaviors, their habits will change. And like you said, we don't like change. So if this goes on for months, which is what the Health Minister of Canada is saying, if self-isolation does last for months, and then the office calls up and says, okay, time to come back, people are going to be like, but I don't want to, because now this has become the new norm. So again, it's always that resistance to change. So I'm going to stand by the statement, and I think a lot of businesses are going to fundamentally shift. And we were just talking about corporate there, but there are still going to be contractors and physical retail businesses, and even they're starting to see some changes. Like grocery stores are putting up plexiglass shielding in each of the cashier lanes, right, to prevent transmission of disease. Well, that's a huge expense, and it's labor intensive. Do you really think once we get by this, these companies are going to spend more money to remove them?
No.
Absolutely not. Now it'll be justified as, well, it will also reduce the risk of violence, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be a new paradigm, a new normal. It actually reminds me of back in World War One was the first instance of the modern world. It was the same type of thing. Everyone was at home, self-isolated for protection, and the government's like, okay, we're depleting money rapidly, supporting any of everyone, so we're going to introduce this temporary income tax, right? Is only supposed to last for the duration of the war.
Temporary.
Yeah, still waiting for that to end. And so it's the same thing. All these temporary measures are being put in place, but we know from history, we know from studying ourselves as societies and people that a lot of this stuff's just going to stay in place.
Of course. So when people are now under this new reality of working from home and managing teams, whether it's big or small, how do you maintain your culture, maintain your team, keep your daily meetings up? How do you do it?
Right. And now that we got some people, I can see we have some attendees here. So, hey, everyone, welcome to the call. I want to make this really real. I want to get really practical, really hands-on. I don't just want to talk vague concepts, you and me talking back and forth and people just listening and hoping to get a nugget, because what's the point of that? So participants, please open up your Q&A window. If you have any direct questions for where you're struggling, for where you're challenged right now with getting work done. It doesn't matter to me if you've worked from home in the past and you're just not very good at it, or if you've never worked from home and you have no clue even where to start. Please start to type your questions. In the meantime, I will start to answer your question, Craig, and talk about some of the most specific, tangible things that will make a massive difference to whether you can continue and be profitable in this uncertain time. So the very first thing is, and again, some of the stuff I've been preaching most of my life, you have to have a daily routine, right? We talked about the rat race routine. Rat race routine is you set the alarm for the same time every day, you snooze it 4 times, you get up bleary-eyed, you either grab a coffee, go to the shower, do your exercise, whatever your routine is, and then you get dressed and you go to work. Then you know what your routine is at work. You work till noon or 1, whenever the lunch is, you have your hour lunch, you work again, you commute home or you commute to pick up the kids and whatever. You have a set routine. Now, that routine doesn't mean it's absolutely the same every single day. Okay, I see someone in the chat window. So I'm not monitoring chat. I'm only monitoring QA. So I'll let you take that up in chat. So when it comes to your routine, like for example, if your kid plays soccer every Thursday night, that doesn't mean you're leaving that slot open every single day. That's just your Thursday night routine. So we're very used to routines. So an effective routine is as follows. Wake up early. Right? Plain and simple. It's been proven by the billionaires of the world. Let me say that again. Billionaires of the world have said that waking up early is one of the most beneficial things you can do. I agree. On average, I wake up between 4:30 and 5 in the morning, and regardless of what my routine is, I'm usually starting work by about 6:30 in the morning. So come 11 o'clock a.m., I've already done most of my fundamental work for the day, and it's not even noon yet. So wake up early. Have a gratitude practice. It doesn't matter to me if it's 2 minutes, 20 minutes. Give gratitude for what you have. I mean, we're Canadian. We live in a country that's taking care of us in the midst of a crisis. I was just reading someone in the States was treated for COVID-19. They managed to recover from it, and they got a medical bill for $34,000. Could you imagine that here? Like they're going to bankrupt their people long before this pandemic passes. So I'm hoping to see a shift in the way the medical system works in the US, because that's just gross.
34,000 is crazy.
Right? So have gratitude that we live in a country that's supporting us, whether you like Trudeau or not. He's been on the ball every day, making sure that we're getting taken care of. Even Ford, who, whether you again like or not, no politics involved today, but he's stepping up and decisions are being made to support people. And I love that. So, have your gratitude practice. You have your health. You have an opportunity to work from home. 1, you have a home. 2, you actually have the technology and the infrastructure in place to even be on a Zoom call like this, when half the world doesn't have that opportunity right now. They're at home, just hunkering down, not sure what tomorrow is going to bring, with limited communication to the outside world. So there's so much to be grateful for. The next thing is have an education half hour, right? Whether it's Audible, whether it's a book, whether it's a meditation practice, spend a half an hour first thing in the morning before your brain's really up and processing actively. Get straight into that subconscious and let something digest every single day. Move forward with growing you is important. Follow that with at least half an hour of physical activity. Right now, we can't go to the gym. I'm a huge gym guy, so I downloaded a couple of apps. We've been doing apps, my wife and I, just in the living room, cleared out some space, and every morning we're working out. Body weight stuff can be really challenging when, you're not in great shape. So do some type of physical activity. It doesn't matter to me if you're a breakfast person or not a breakfast person, whatever your routine is, but then have dedicated work time. And what I mean by dedicated work time is if you start normally, like let's say you don't work from home and you have to be at the office for 9 a.m., then be in your home office for 9 a.m., right? Close the door, set boundaries. Yeah, I've got a family, I've got screaming kids to take care of. Well, guess what? Figure it out. Like your work time is 9 to 5. If that's the time you choose, 9 to 5 is do not bother me. I'm at work, even if that's in the office at home with the door closed. Right. And there's always exceptions, just the same as if, my wife called me at the office and there was an emergency, I'm going to answer it. Same thing. If there's an emergency at home, answer it. But you must establish boundaries and respect them. And it's not only boundaries for those that are in the house with you, it's boundaries for yourself. Don't put the laptop on the couch, have the TV going in the background and think you're going to be able to, not pay attention to Netflix while you're working. It just won't work that way. So set yourself up for success from the beginning. Make sure you take mental breaks. Every 20 minutes, I have an eye chart on the far wall. So I'll relax, I'll do some breathing, I'll look over, and I'll just test my eyes, let them refocus on something at a different distance than my computer. It's how I take care of myself that way. Schedule your lunch, make sure you have lunch ready. Do meal prep on Sundays if you want to make that part of your schedule, right? And when work is done, be done, right? If 5 o'clock is your cutoff, that's your cutoff. But what does your evening routine look like? Because now you need to deal with your family. You need to spend time with them just like you would any other day. So that's the first step. I'm going to take a moment because we got Daniel in the Q&A and he's typed to us, I'm wondering what the new market opportunities are. Well, that's fascinating. Okay. So the reason this is so fascinating is, so having been a marketer for 22 years, that was actually my industry before I got into doing, the remote project management company and the business mentoring and all that. So being a marketer for 22 years, what I have seen happen over the last few weeks is that all the principles still apply. Even things like this, like for years I've been telling people, doesn't matter if it's perfect, freaking get on Zoom, do something, start having, these daily types of interactivities with people. And it doesn't matter, grow, figure it out as you go, nurture your relationships, give your community something that they want, right? That's marketing. And it used to be in the old days that, if you did it too much, you would see a drop off in viability. So here's a perfect example. The old formula for email campaigns used to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, you give the educational email. Wednesday, you give the personal share email. And then Friday is your call to action. Okay, now that you love me, let's do business. And if you did more than that, your unsubscribe rates would skyrocket. And even then, on a 3 times a week, the average unsubscribe is from 15 to 20%, right? Now, emails are still good, but we've been putting out between 3 to 7 emails per day to our entire list. And you would expect like 100% unsubscribe rate because we're just bombarding people with information, relevant information. And our unsubscribe rate is less than 1%. Because people want that now. So the principle still applies, but any of that data we used to have, Daniel, any of that measurement we used to have is gone because that's changed. Things changed within the course of days. So when you're asking what new market opportunities are there, I'm facetiously, I'm going to say what opportunities aren't there. Right? Like everybody is pivoting. And that's the whole idea is you have to figure out with that beautiful human creativity, how are you going to work in this new normal? And I'll give you a very specific example. And if you want to type to me what your market is, I'll even help you figure one out right now. So I'm working with a plumber. Obviously, things dried up for him overnight, pardon the pun, I guess, because nobody wants him in the house, right? Why would you? We're supposed to be in self-isolation, et cetera, et cetera. So how is he going to continue forward? Now, fortunately, we've been working together for a while, so he's got, enough money to get him through at least half a year. But in the meantime, he's not just sitting back and going, okay, I hope things get back to normal. Because like we said earlier, this is the new normal. So what are we doing? We've just discussed membership, monthly membership. And that monthly membership will contribute towards, any service calls that you have during the membership time. And what are the other perks of membership? Well, there's different tiers to the membership packages. So, the second level tier is also interior handyman service. The premium level tier is exterior handyman service. And it can be transferable, but it stays with you, the person, not with the house. So there's all these things we're working out. And the idea is to get membership, because even if he has 100 or 200 people in his list of existing clients that sign on, he's now got not only just guaranteed income coming in every month, but he's also going to have a lot higher lifetime client value, because why would they go to the competition when they got money banked with him in advance? Right? So it's pivoting and creating new market opportunities within traditional industries. Right. And of course, some of the other perks that he's working on is creating a Facebook group so that he can put tips and tricks there. Private YouTube videos can get thrown in there, doing webinars like this to educate people in real time on, how do you winterize your pipes and stuff like that. So all of this growing asset library is going to be of value to members. Right. And when it comes to advertising, like say you're doing a Facebook ad run, you could run, I'll use that same example, a fall special to winterize your pipes, $99, 50% off for existing memberships. Right. So there's so many opportunities to leverage upsales, to leverage like a bigger average sale, a better lifetime client value, like so many things to do. And this is a plumber. This is someone who has to be in your house, but he's already turning today. How is he going to start selling memberships tomorrow? Not when this gets solved, but tomorrow, because, this is normal. This is business as usual. It's just not as usual. Does that help you out at all, Daniel? Please let me know in the Q&A.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me jumping in here for a second, I mean, there are so many problems that businesses face right now because they're not ready to manage their teams remotely. They're not ready for this communication. They're not ready to find and engage new clients in new ways when they had to go to trade shows and whatnot before, and they're all canceled. So there's a lot of ways to add value and find new market opportunities. I saw some news. I can't remember. I think Cabbagetown had a lot of break-ins last night. And so there's obviously security and remote monitoring opportunities for local businesses that never thought of this before. What about delivery opportunities for local business so they have potential to stay open and not engage with clients under these circumstances? What about doing online opportunities for business who never thought about it before because they just didn't have to? So there is a whole slurry of opportunities here because these companies don't have their doors aren't open, or they can't get in front of their customers face to face like they're used to. So there's lots of opportunities. So yeah, Daniel, if you let us know what industry you're in, we can probably give you some examples. Back over to you, Marcus.
Yeah, well, and actually based on what you said, I also want to, because I'm going to keep things real, I'm really going to encourage people to stay in their lane. Because right now, again, that fear mentality, it's like, oh, I can't go to work. I need a side hustle. I got to figure out something. I'll be a business coach, right? I'll be a life coach. I'll be a fitness coach. Like suddenly everybody is everything. And that is actually super dangerous, not just short-term, but long-term, because if that's not what you were doing before the pivot, then that's not what you want to be doing after the pivot, because, you have no credibility. And again, these types of things haven't changed, in the past. We should have been qualifying the people that we take on as vendors, right? So why would that be different now? So when people are scrambling and hustling and saying, yeah, but I can do your Facebook ads for you. Well, great. So you've done 3 or 4 Facebook ads for yourself. That doesn't make you a Facebook ads expert. So don't think suddenly that's what you need to do. And Craig's right, though. I'll give you another perfect example. I have a friend that owns a really nice pet food store in Vancouver, and now nobody's coming to the store. Right? So he could either be like, okay, we'll just wait for this to pass, or got together with his team, did some brainstorming, and overnight they realized, well, why don't we become a delivery service? right? Delivery of what? Well, dog food, obviously, because they're staying in their lanes. So now people are ordering online because that system was already there. And the team is still at work, but now they're delivering the product instead of people coming into the store itself. So that's an example of how you can transition within your lane. Let me just read this one really quick. Yes, this is very helpful. Thanks. I'm trying to listen to you and Will at the same time. So I'm so sorry if I'm she and have bad grammar. Okay. My market is self-help. I'm currently part of several social groups that are trying to self-organize, but seem to be having trouble because we usually meet in person. Yeah, perfect. So let's talk about that. Self-help. What do you think people need more than anything right now? And suddenly everybody's a medical expert, everybody's a self-development expert. So this is what you were doing before. I mean, look at Craig. It's a perfect example. Craig runs a lot of live events. How are your live events doing today?
Yeah, not happening.
Right. So instead, what he's doing is smart, because he's getting an online presence where he's not comfortable. I mean, if you saw him fiddling around before we started, you'd realize that this isn't perfect, but it doesn't have to be. So what he's doing is transitioning to online, and he's offering right now just his expertise, having other people come on so that his community is supported. He's not charging for it or anything right now, but guess what? It's really easy once he gets a little more comfortable to transition this into some ongoing live events that you do pay for. And then let's say things do normalize and TorontoStarts live events are going on again. Fantastic. But that doesn't mean these discontinue. Another friend of mine that I had on my daily just yesterday, she and her partner over the last 10 years have built up what's called the Diva Girl community. And they have always been primarily an online community that offers an in-person live event add-on. Right now, they've taken that add-on away, but their fundamental business model is the same. So same for you. Right now, look at marketing. Look at the opportunity here to have, 12 people on, and you're serving your existing community. You're helping your existing community with your expertise. That's what needs to be demonstrated right now, is your ability to adapt. And especially as a self-help expert, your mindset cannot be, but I don't know what I'm doing, because that's going to get you paralyzed in fear. So with your own mindset, say, okay, done beats perfect. Take that scary step. Doesn't matter if you got poopy pants or not. When you get there, no one's going to see it because you're on a small little screen, right? So just do whatever you need to do to move forward. And get yourself out there. Start the Facebook Live, start the Zoom calls, make more posts on social media, and get out to your audience. Another wonderful opportunity, back to Daniel, and this is one that I've been preaching for a while too, I do a lot of that, is it's not about new leads right now for most people. For most people right now, I'm talking specifically to people that own their own business. So if the 12 of you, part of the Toronto community, you own your own business, and everyone's like, but leads. Okay. In the best of times, I say, don't worry about leads until you know how to nurture your existing clients for more business. So look at your email list right now. Is it 10 people? Is it 10,000 people? Talk to them. Ask them, what are they challenged with right now? What are they afraid of? What do they need? The three greatest questions you can ask them is, what would they like you to start doing that you're not doing, stop doing that you are doing, and keep doing? Ask them. And the reason you ask them is because they already are doing business with you. They already like you. They already trust you. So why freak out about all this potential newness out there when you have existing support from people that want you to succeed? So today, reach out to them by email, by text, by call, whatever you need to do, and get their valuable opinion on things, because they're going to help you get forward in business so that you can serve all of them better. Why do you think, again, back to Craig, that's why he's online. Did he have to be online? No, but he asked. He asked people, what do you want? And what they want is support. They want other experts to come on and help them. They want TorontoStarts or Startup Toronto. I never remember how to say it properly.
It's TorontoStarts. You had it right the first time.
Okay, perfect. To keep going, right? They want to have that connectedness and community more than ever, because self-isolation can suck, right? So just think differently. Okay, back to you for a sec, Craig.
Yeah, we opened up our Slack group as well. I mean, we're opening up to our community. Some of our startups in our community help other startups, so we're trying to get them on our webinars. We're doing more video interviews to get our community together. If we're talking about market opportunities and strategies, I've been thinking a long time about how to charge a membership fee for TorontoStarts. So once I have about 50 of these videos, as well as some of my online courses that I'm working on, I put that behind a paywall, give you discounts to my live events when they're happening, and that might be worth $50 or $100 a year. And that becomes a revenue model. So
Yeah.
there's lots of opportunities here, just looking at engaging your audience and giving what they want in this brave new world.
Right. And now to add to that, so step one was having a daily routine. So step two is understanding business rhythm, business pulse, whatever you want to call it. And that is as follows: daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, right? That's what we work in. So your daily activities matter. Every week you're reviewing stuff. Every month you're making changes. Every quarter you're making bigger changes. And every year you're making sure you're still on track with your original vision. So Craig, as he does this and embarks on these new things, sure, he might introduce a membership model. Is that it? He just does it and it's done? No, he's going to ahead of time set goals, set things he's going to measure, and then he's going to actually measure them to see if it's working. And if it's working, he'll keep doing it, tweak it, see how he can make it work better. But if it's not working, it's gone, because that's what you need to do. Now, if we typically have a year to do these types of things, well, that's gone right now. Everything needs to shrink. So what used to be, daily effort every day, and then you'd measure it weekly. Well, right now you're doing that full week every day, and you're measuring the end of each day. This is what you have to do with these creative new opportunities right now to get through this pandemic successfully, is test all day long and adjust. Right? At the end of every day now, my team, we have 2 status meetings now. So at the end of every day, we're like running through all the numbers of the new stuff we tested today. Is it working? Great. Keep doing it. If not, cool. What new thing can we do? Right? And in the morning, we have creativity sessions to come up with ideas for the following day. So everything's at a very accelerated pace. And you might be like, wow, how do you find the time? Again, I schedule the time, I create the time, and more importantly, I monitor the time. Right? Apps like Rescue Time, it's on your desktop, it's on your smartphone, and it just sits there quietly in the background and pays attention like a keylogger to what you're spending your time on. And at the end of each week, it'll give you a full report of, wow, dude, you spent 24 hours on Facebook this week, and you're wondering why you have no time. Well, 24 hours of it was on Facebook. Imagine what you could have done with that 24 hours, right? So be cognizant of where you spend your time. That's always been one of the biggest contention points in my business. I'm a huge fan of time tracking for individuals and for teams. And some of the, responses I get is, but, everyone's on salary, so why does time matter? Well, how do you, establish your pricing model, for example? Do you just arbitrarily come up with numbers, or do you monitor how long it actually takes to do things, right? Same thing with your own time blocking. If you're blocking 8 hours a day to work and you're only getting 1 or 2 things done, and you think you should be getting more things done, well, then that tells me that you don't have a historic time record to see how long it actually takes you to get things done. And then again, that'll help you quote better, because if you quote to your client, it's going to take 3 hours and it takes you 8 hours, that's not profitable, right? But if you start to track it and you're averaging at 8 hours, then you can tell your client, I got to charge you for 8 hours. And they'll be like, okay, I'll pay for 8 hours. Now you're profitable again. So monitoring how you spend your time is infinitely valuable and so underrated by people, because people don't want to do it. But there's so many tools out there. I said Rescue Time. There's other platforms that will monitor your time or allow you to do time entry. And it becomes so easy that it's almost mandatory.
Sorry, I was muted there. That's great. I use an app on my phone called Hours, but it doesn't rescue my time, but I can tell it what I'm doing right now. So it tracks my time during the day and I can see where I'm spending it.
Right. Perfect. And so that leads us to point number 3 in working from home. Point number 3 in working from home is you need to have yourself a project management tool, online, cloud-based, accessible from anywhere. And again, like we talked about for testing new market opportunities, you have to have criteria that matter to you when selecting any tool set. Right? So for example, our tool of choice is teamwork.com. We love teamwork.com, mostly because we've been a partner with them for the last 11 years. We're their only gold partner, their #1 worldwide training partner. So we know that software better than most of their team does, because we've been around longer using it. And what I like about teamwork.com, and here's some of the criteria I want you to consider, whether it's Asana, Jira, Trello, whatever it is you want to use, here's the criteria I want you to consider. 1, what is the cost per license, per seat, per team? How does it work? Is it per project? What is it going to cost me as I scale? 2, well, can it track time, right? 3, can it help me with workload and management and resource forecasting? That's important. 4, does it have templating capabilities? Because whether you want to admit it or not, 80% of what your work is can be templated. 20% of it, kind of unique circumstances, but for the most part, we do the same thing again and again, just with different data, right? I mean, you build a website, websites are websites are websites, and all the web developers are like, no, that's not true. Look, I've been building them for decades. They're all fundamentally the same thing with just different content, some different tweak features, but everything's plugins, everything's this, everything's that. So you can template a lot of stuff. So make sure you can template. 3, make sure that the mobile app is very robust, because if you cannot do most of the functionality when you are on the go, which none of us are right now, but I'm talking, normal times, then that's not going to serve you well, because you're going to be tied to a laptop or a desktop, which nobody wants. Okay. Any other considerations you have, make sure to write them down ahead of time so that as you're evaluating, your emotions don't get up. Another one I like myself is usability. Right? If it's not easy to use, then my team's not going to use it. Does it have an API? Does it have the ability to talk to other programs? Like, can you export to QuickBooks directly? Can you export to any other tools you use, like your proposal software or anything like that? Does it have a boards view? My team likes to work in boards view. So, does it have a robust boards view, drag and drop, again, back to the usable interface? So these are all the kind of things that you need to ask yourself, what do I need in the ideal scenario? And then, of course, back to costs again, how do they package it? What are their tiers? You look at something like HubSpot, and I apologize, HubSpot lovers, HubSpot's great when it's free. But the second you want to do anything robust, it jumps to like what, $800 US a month? Like, come on. You can get incredible packages for $100 US a month or less. Right? You don't need to go and spend that kind of money simply because they market themselves so well and tell you to be a big agency, you need to spend big money. Like, no. So evaluate what's realistic for your budget. What's the return on investment? And then allow your business to pay for itself. If you get into HubSpot later because it becomes a profitable part of your business, more power to you, right? So those are all the kind of considerations up front, and you can do that today. Right? Just figure out what you like. Most of these give free trials of some sort. So try them all and see which one you actually enjoy. Craig's probably going to put my info on this. So if anybody wants to reach out to me and, get my help in assessing what tool would be good for their industry, I'm happy to do so. So again, a little plug for Teamwork, and I'll tell you why. 22 years experience in this industry of digital marketing. I've worked in construction. I've worked with health and wellness. I've worked with large corporations in retail. I've worked with chiropractors, physiotherapists, government organizations, banks. I've been all over the place. And 95% of the customers I've worked with, teamwork.com is the best solution for them.
Cool. I've used Zoho. I've used, sorry, my mic was moved away. I used Trello. I've used Basecamp. Right now, I personally use OmniFocus just because my team is really small.
Right. Well, and again, so here's another strategy I like to use for people, even if it's really small, even if it's a team of one. It's really fun for me to get people to do an organizational chart. Right? And the organizational chart isn't based on how many people are in your team. It's based on how many roles are represented. So for example, let's do this really fun with you. Who's your CEO, Craig?
That'd be me.
Okay. Who's your marketing director?
That'd be me.
Cool. Who does your web development?
That'd be me.
Graphic design?
That'd be me.
Facebook ads?
Mostly me, but sometimes Andrea.
Okay. Event management?
Me and sometimes Megan.
Perfect. Invoicing?
Me.
Follow-ups?
Me.
Lead generation?
Me.
Right. Have you ever broken it down like that before?
Not quite like that.
Right. So the reason that's important is because now you have a picture of what your company could become. Right? And as you start to look at tools to support that, look at what the end goal is, not at where you currently are. That's only one consideration. If you look at the end goal of where you could be, what you need is a product that is good for you now, yes, but is also scalable to where you want to be. Because as you start to grow, doing a data migration across systems can be a very painful and costly experience. And I've actually seen smaller businesses die during that process. So it's really important. It's also good to find out, where most of the workload is, because back to workload management and resource forecasting, you can see that, okay, right now Craig is responsible for most of what's happening. As the revenues grow, he can start to monitor again through something simple like time tracking. Where is most of his time spent? And then that's the first hire he's going to have, is to get someone to do that thing that's taking most of his time so he can focus on other things. And this is really how you scale. Separate conversation from working from home in a way, but still very important to understand, because even if you're working virtually, knowing the organization of your company, what the roles and responsibilities are, and then looking at a tool that can help support that collaboration is imperative. We all started with Basecamp. Nothing bad to say. I mean, Basecamp was great in its day. It's where they all came from. Trello's great. A lot of people use Trello for free. The challenge I have with Trello, for example, is it's not scalable, really. Right?
I don't like Trello.
No, I mean, it's great. It's a board view. It introduces people to a board view, but it's really light on details, and details are everything. So it's good if you just want to fly through a to-do list, but it's not really a management tool, in my opinion. So yeah, there's tons of them out there. Again, from Mondays and Asanas and Jiras and Zoho. Zoho is a phenomenal product suite. It doesn't tick off all the criteria though, and I'll tell you some of the ones it doesn't meet. It's ugly AF. It's really a hard product to use. It was built by developers for developers. So if you're not tech savvy, you may not enjoy Zoho. Zoho One licensing, so it ticks off the pricing box. It's an amazing price at Zoho One. It's $45 US per person for 40 different products, from marketing and social media to CRMs to everything you could imagine. Challenge, most of them don't really talk well to each other yet. Right? So for every 1 hour you spend using Zoho, you're going to spend about 4 hours debugging Zoho. So is it a good return on investment? I don't think so. Okay. So they all have pros and cons, but evaluate what matters to you. So that's step 3. Step 4 is please have fun. It's so important. Back to mindset, back to our self-help expert. What you focus on expands, right? You know that you attract what you put out. And I'm not going all woo-woo or anything like that, but think about your life. If you walk around as a miserable human being, then people tend to either not want to be around you, or when they are around you, they're miserable too, because like attracts like. So if you get caught up in the fear right now, if you get caught up in indecision and inaction, if you're like, oh, nothing matters, COVID, 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 COVID. I don't even like saying the word because I don't want to give it energy. So we started a hashtag that's called Courage19. Because I would much rather people having courage right now instead of, focusing on what's going on pandemic wise. So, have fun, schedule some time to, dance. Dancing's a great way to raise your energy. Maybe you like to sing horribly, then go sing horribly, right? Whatever it is you want to do. My wife and I have started doing online fitness classes through Good Life. They have a free offering now for members. She records them and puts them on Instagram. It's humiliating, but it's still fun because I get to do this fun stuff with my wife. I accidentally whacked her in the face last night while we were doing this, because we were doing like some EDM type music that's like go and hands and whoops, we weren't synchronized as well as we usually are. And that's embarrassing, but we had so much fun. So, yeah, we're self-isolated, but it's such a horrible word. I mean, look at it as a time I call it forced growth. Don't call it self-isolation, call it forced growth, because you're being given the time to do all the things you always said, oh, when I have time, I'll do that. Guess what? It's now.
Absolutely. It's a great way to looking at it.
Thanks. So yeah, if there's any other questions, I mean, really, again, that's who I am. I like to collaborate. So Craig, do you have any questions, or do you want to touch on anything you think your users might want, or if anyone wants to type in the Q&A window, please, I want to get as real and specific and helpful as possible. I'm here to serve you with this time, so please let me do so.
So I was a PMP for a lot of years. I was a project manager in a number of large organizations and managed hundreds and hundreds of projects, usually through MS Project and Project Server later on in life. So I haven't really found anything that actually does that kind of thing for me. Is there a tool for someone who would be more detail oriented for projects that you would use?
So you'll laugh, but I'm going to say teamwork.com.
Okay.
So I'll tell you why. So let's talk PMP, because my entire team, that's the base minimum certification they need to get hired. So teamwork's great. So the strategy we use is they have a list view. And that list view is where I teach our team to create tasks. So it's a task title, a task description, a single assignee, a duration, like estimated time, blocking of hours for what window they have to get the work done. You can create dependencies, front end and back end. You can prioritize, you can file attach, and there's versioning control in the filing system. You can set automated reminders right down to, everything from email to mobile push. So you have all the details that you need to create the task. Okay. Then we execute the task in board view, because once all the information is there, it's just quicker to throw things around in the board view like we talked about. Then for the project managers, you actually have a Gantt view. So you can actually get your beautiful cascade going, because in a list view or even in a board view, you have no idea what comes first and you don't want to spend time searching through. So in teamwork, it's easy. You hit the G key and boom, there's the Gantt view, and you can grab milestones and move them around and all the tasks will move with them. It's really beautifully designed. It even exports into MS Projects. So again, it's a powerful tool that's very scalable. A lot of companies I work with, I've never even shown them Gantt view because their minds would just kind of melt. But for people that understand project management and want to quickly see what's on their plate, you can do that. Even better, Craig, if you set things up properly at a project level with start dates and end dates, you can actually roll up into a projects view, and you can actually see timelines for where things are going to be busiest to do some resource forecasting. There's a portfolio option, which allows you to pull up all your critical tasks from across projects, so you can get a view of just that. It's an unbelievable tool. And they actually do, their entry level option is free forever, and it lets you have two active projects on the go. So, for small business, it's a great way to test the waters and get familiar with the interface. And of course, I saw you put my link up. We are Teamwork's #1 training partner, so I'm happy to help. We're actually going to be putting together an online course in the next week that we're going to offer for people, because a lot of people are transitioning and need that help. So, yeah.
It's a good idea. I think one of the things I found, I don't know if anybody on here has that problem, but as someone who's managing a team, we all have our own responsibilities. And say as a founder, I only want to be alerted when there's a problem. So do you have other tools you use, or is it all just teamwork.com that raises alerts at a portfolio manager type level?
Right. Well, yes and no. So even on a task level, you got your privacy and everything else, but on a task level, and it is teamwork is the answer again. And I'll tell you what, no, because they think of these things, right? Like they are an industry leader, like we talk about. So on a task level, yeah, you could roll it up into portfolio or whatever, but even on a task level, what you can do is you can add followers. And a follower, you can choose, only notify me of comments, only notify me of a status change, or notify me of everything. Right? So you as a founder, you might not want to know everything that's going on. You just might want to actually know when the status has changed from example, in progress to ready for review. And then
I want to know when milestones are going to slip. That's what I want to know.
Right. Well, and that's even easier. So teamwork and milestones, what you can do is set yourself as an observer or follower on the milestone, right? And then you can get sent reminders for that. But again, here's the funny thing. Even better is the portfolio, because the portfolio is what we call the boss level view. And teamwork nicely color codes everything. If it's red, it's late. If it's yellow, it's ongoing. Or no, if it's yellow, it's in the future. And if it's green, it's ongoing. So you just log in first thing in the morning. And if it's red, that's a bad thing. Another back to tool criteria, something I like, and a few tools do it, many don't, is a daily report in my email. So every morning, first thing I do, like many, is after I've done my gratitudes and everything else, pop onto the phone. I get my daily report, and it shows me visually with color as, what milestones are late, what's upcoming, what events are upcoming. Because it's a full, management tool with a calendar for managing vacations and sick days and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the stuff you're asking for is there. It's why I love the tool. Like I've never really left it, because it's just a phenomenal tool. Oh, and another criteria is customer support. It doesn't matter what time of day it is or where you are in the world. The teamwork guys get back to you within 2 hours.
how do you stay connected? Do you use tools like Slack, Zoom, web conferencing?
Yeah,
Do you,
so yeah, okay. So we do use web conferencing. We, being a remote team, because we are all over the world. That's the whole idea of remote project management. We've been using Zoom for quite a few years now. We don't use Slack simply because we already have a tool set we enjoy. We've integrated Slack for customers. There's a teamwork integration for that. And again, you're going to laugh at me, but about 3 years ago, Teamwork introduced a product called Teamwork Chat. And it was a separate platform, and it stayed in beta for a long time. And it just didn't really go anywhere as a separate platform. So what they did instead is they integrated it into teamwork.com. So every project has its own chat channel. And you can, again, roll those up into the app. So we actually use Teamwork Chat as our corporate chat channel because it's all integrated. And the main reason for that, and I'll tell you really straight out, it's been an amazing feature, is you're typing away in chat, let's say, and someone says something really brilliant. Well, I don't want to have to go through the pain of copying it, going over to another window, starting a task, pasting that in, realizing I didn't copy it properly, going back, oh, I've closed the window, all that nonsense. You can actually highlight text in Teamwork Chat, and right from there, you can create a new task, and it does it from the chat window directly in Teamwork. So just that integration alone is valuable.
so in this time, where one of our key things is getting sales and tracking our client funnels. Do you have specific tools you're using for that to put people in funnels? And
Absolutely.
what do you do for that?
Right. The answer is not Teamwork.
Good.
It's yeah. So there's 4 stages to your business. Really, there are 4 components. There's the people component, there's the strategy component, the execution component, and the cash flow. Teamwork is your execution component, right? Like it's all about getting that day-to-day work we talked about, which is the most essential. We actually use a tool that is relatively unheard of, doesn't show up on a lot of searches. For a marketing tool, it's really not marketed too well. And it's called GoGo Clients. I'll actually put that into the chat window. Let me see.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the reason we use GoGo Clients is it's relatively straightforward to use. It's got a very great price point. It's $99 US a month. And what does that $99 US month get you? Well, for starters, Craig, it gets you a dedicated toll-free number. And that toll-free number can be used where if you, and you've seen my cards for this, you can have prospects or users email that number through text, like send their email address through text, and it will respond to them and say, cool, thanks, what's your first name so I know what to call you? And you now have a CRM record with their phone number, their email, and their first name. From, like any good CRM, it has a strong CRM marketing component. So you can set up triggers and action sets to start autoresponder campaigns like email campaigns, text campaigns, that type of stuff. So it's very robust in that way. That same phone number, that toll-free number, which again, no additional cost, no cap on usage or overages or anything like that. If they call it, there's a voicemail system. And you can have just a generic voicemail that says, hey, don't call us, text us or whatever. Or you can actually have a little 2-minute recording that says, hey, you want to know about startup drinks, press 1. You want to know about our business accelerators, press 2. You want to know about our new webinar online courses, press 3. And the moment they press any of the extensions, which again is more voice recordings, the moment they press it though, the system now catches it and can trigger autoresponders again. So if someone is interested specifically in that thing, you can now send them your educational email stream with your call to action to say, hey, here's the stuff you asked for, let's get going. It has built-in landing pages. It has the ability to integrate via things like Zapier with, like catch and post and that kind of stuff. So you can actually automate things from your Facebook lead ads, from basically anything that can talk to Zapier, you can automate it through there. It's got the ability to do mass emails built in, and you get 350,000 email credits a month. I don't know about you, but I'm not sending more than 350,000 emails a month. So it's a good cap for me. Again, strong support. It's got deals, allows you to do custom stages throughout your deals. It's got appointment calendars and reminders. And like I said with Teamwork, it's got that daily report that comes to your email every morning to tell you what's on your plate. So between those 2 platforms, It's been fantastic. And yeah, and the email templating is nice and easy. You can do video embeds. You can create different folders for different things and standardize your look and feel of your header and your footer. It even, oh, one of my favorite things it does in emails is called intelligent links, right? So even when you send someone an email, let's say for this Zoom meeting today, if you put that in there as an intelligent link on your text, as soon as someone clicks it in your email, you can trigger an autoresponder event within the system. So they don't even have to do anything on another page they go to. Simply by clicking the link for this Zoom call, you can start sending them emails or texts saying, hey, we saw that you were interested in our Zoom series. Here's some more information. So the touch points this thing offers for the price are unparalleled. And it's a great little tool that was recommended to us about 1.5 years ago. So back in January, not too long ago now, but back in January, we did a full systems migration. And this was one of the tools we migrated our entire marketing effort towards.
It sounds amazing. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, and they have a free trial like everything else, and it's great. It even has birthday reminders. It has an add-on product where you can actually send out physical postcards on certain dates automatically to people. So there's a lot of functionality in there. It's a great product.
I haven't seen any other questions come in, so
No, me neither.
Unless you have something else to say, tell us a little bit about you and where people can find out more.
Yeah, sounds good. So we actually have 3 properties. Our main product is howtoproject.ca. That's where we focus on remote project management for larger organizations. That may or may not be you, but if you need some help with remote project management, integrations, as well as actually managing projects for you, then give us a shout there. You could also go to limitlessresultsworldwide.com, where we offer our stage 2 business mentoring programs. What is stage 2? I love the way that you say it, Craig, so please have at it.
Yeah, I like to say that I create pirates. Basically, as a startup, you got to do everything yourself and as much as possible and get a band of team together, a patchwork team to run your organization. But eventually you have to turn your pirates into navies, and that's where Marcus comes in.
Right. So yeah, our business mentoring programs, we actually just recently won an award for it. So that was pretty exciting, our first award. They're wonderful. They're the only legally backed guarantee in Canada to double your revenue within 12 months, which is pretty exciting. And then a new product offering that we're working on, you can go check out the site, it's not quite finished yet, is onethingworkshop.com. And that's something we'll talk about another day because it's brand new, very exciting, and I know you will be someone involved in that for sure. So I can't wait to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, that sounds great. And thank you for taking the time out to be with our audience today. And I wanted to mention to our audience, don't forget, we're doing these at noon every day. Check out TorontoStarts.com for the list of stuff that's coming up. Actually, every weekday. We're taking Saturdays and Sundays off for now. And so there's plenty of content to come forward, and let us know what else you want to hear, what topics you want to see, and we'll get them booked in the lineup. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you for having me today.